Chapter 24. Bing, 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 bong. Kevin looked up. The spires of a cathedral rose above Fifth Avenue. In between strokes of the bell, Kevin could hear a choir through the church's open door. It was beautiful. They really know how to sing in New York, Kevin thought. There were hundreds of people inside. Lots of them were kids, staying up late for Christmas Mass. Kevin wondered if there were any kids in the choir. Maybe one of them was holding electric candles behind one another's ears. He laughed. Then he felt tears welling up in his eyes. Kevin lowered his head and kept walking. He kicked a paper cup on the sidewalk, swerving around pretzel salesmen. A horse and buggy driver called out, "Have a Christmas ride with your family." He swerved away right into the path of a man holding a book of photographs. "Pictures with a tree," he called out. "Souvenirs for a lifetime." Kevin looked at the man's photos. Each one showed some family standing in front of a humongous Christmas tree. He knew about that tree. It was the one at Rockefeller Center in New York City. Kevin's eyes rose from the photo book. There was a long path in front of him. Down the center of it, white statues of angels faced away from him, blowing slender trumpets skyward. He looked up, following the direction of the trumpets. The sadness in his face melted. There, at the end of the pathway, was the tree. The one and only, hugest, most beautiful Christmas tree in the world. He walked closer. Around him, a few people were straggling away, arm in arm. The skating rink below was smooth and empty. To his left, a man in an official-looking brown overcoat swept the walk. Kevin stood before the tree looking up. Its lights shone down at him. The night's chill was loosening its grip. Slowly, he felt himself warm to a spirit he hadn't thought he could feel anymore. In that moment, so much became clear to him. The crazy day, the accident at the airport, the whole trip began to make some sort of sense. He spoke in a soft voice to the tree. "I know I don't deserve a Christmas, even if I did do a good deed. I don't want any presents. Instead, I want to take back every mean thing I ever said to my family. Even if they don't take back the things they said, I don't care." He began speaking louder. He had nothing to be ashamed of now, nothing to lose. His backpack, his gadgets, his ticket, all gone. He couldn't even use his name now without risking trouble. All he had left was the truth in his heart, a truth he was just discovering. "I love them all," he said, "including Buzz. But if it isn't possible for me to see all of them, could I just see my mother? I'll never want another thing as long as I live. I just want my mother. I know I won't see her tonight, but promise me I can see her again. Sometime. Anytime. Even if it's just once, for only a couple minutes. I need to tell her I'm sorry." There, he said it. It felt good to let it out. Kevin sighed. The wind was picking up now. He was starting to feel chilly again. He lowered his head and turned to leave. Behind him came a faint jingling sound. He stopped. He'd heard that sound before. Funny. It sounded a little like ding-a-ling-a-ling, the McCallister family Christmas bell. Kevin turned around. The talking to the tree must have done something to him. Now he was having visions. At the end of the block was an apparition of his mother. She was smiling from ear to ear, and Kevin felt a tug of happiness. The apparition rang the bell again. Kevin walked closer. Ghosts were supposed to be clear. Well, not clear, but you could see through them. At least that was what Kevin thought. But this was a solid one, just like a real person. And tears were rolling down its cheeks. "Mom?" Kevin said, his voice tiny and parched. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," she answered. Kevin's mouth dropped open. It was no ghost. "Wow," he said. "That worked fast." She knelt down, reaching toward him. His feet left the ground. He ran to her full speed. She folded him tightly in her arms. Kevin closed his eyes, feeling the embrace he'd never forgotten. He let the last 2 days blow away like a feather on an icy wind. "How did you know I was here?" he asked. "I know you in Christmas trees," she said. "This is the biggest one around. I had a hunch." She kissed him and stood up. "Let's go and let Dad know you're all right." "Where's everybody else?" "They're at the hotel." They're in New York? Kevin's mom shrugged. They didn't like palm trees either. Come on. She put her arm around his shoulder as they headed toward Fifth Avenue. Kevin took one look over his shoulder and saw 1,000 lights winking at him. He winked back. Chapter 25. E.F. Duncan watched grimly as the police sifted through the mess in his store. He and his wife had come straight from their Christmas party. Under his cashmere overcoat, he wore the finest suit. Mrs. Duncan's glittering gown was all but covered by her mink coat. This was not the way they'd expected to celebrate the holiday. Ian Josephs, a police evidence specialist, knelt down in the shattered glass of the front door. He picked up a large paving stone and removed the envelope that was banded around it. As he read the message, a police sergeant strode up to Mr. Duncan. He held a walkie-talkie in his right hand and was smiling brightly. "It's all over, Mr. Duncan," he said. "Our men apprehended the thieves and recovered your money." The sadness lifted from the Duncans' faces. They hugged each other with joy and relief. "I thank you very much, Sergeant," Mr. Duncan said. Officer Josephs interrupted them. He held Kevin's note in his hand. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Duncan?" "Yes," Mr. Duncan replied. Handing him the envelope, Officer Joseph said, "This was wrapped around a paver we found over there. Looks like a kid broke your window." Mr. Duncan lifted the letter from the plaza envelope and read it. "Dear Mr. Duncan, I'm sorry I broke your window to catch the bad guys. I'm sorry. Do you have insurance? If you don't, I'll send you some money when it snows more, if I ever get back to Chicago. Merry Christmas, Kevin McCallister." Mr. Duncan chuckled. He knew who it was. "Turtle doves," he said under his breath. As the sun peeked over the New York City skyline, the Plaza Hotel staff was already hard at work. Chefs were preparing Christmas breakfasts and checking the supplies for dinner. Extra cleaning people were on hand for the celebrations. Waiters eagerly set tables hoping for extra tip money to take home to their families. And in front of the building, delivery men guided a truck marked Duncan's Toy Chest up to the sidewalk. When the truck stopped, the delivery men pulled open the rear door. The truck was jammed with presents, wrapped in the finest Christmas paper. The men loaded the gifts one by one onto hand carts. As they wheeled them into the lobby, they were met by the concierge. "This way," he said. He led them to the elevator. There the bellman and the clerk were holding an enormous, fully decorated Christmas tree. Quietly, with smiles on their faces, they took it all to the 4th floor. Chapter 26. Holy smokes, it's morning! This year, Fuller was the first McCallister to wake up on Christmas morning. Kevin and Brooke were sharing the room with him, so they woke up too. "It's Christmas morning, man!" Fuller shouted. Kevin sat up. His eyes were half shut. His mouth felt cottony. Yes, it was Christmas morning, but all he wanted to do was sleep. "Fuller," he said, "don't get your hopes up." Fuller looked at him blankly. "Huh? I'm not sure Santa Claus goes to hotels." "Are you nuts?" Fuller said. "He's omnipresent. He goes everywhere." He leapt out of bed, screaming, "Wake up! It's Christmas!" Brooke followed him into the adjoining bedroom. "Wake up, Dad!" Frank and Leslie McCallister began to stir. Rod and Tracy popped out their cots. Fuller and Brooke charged into the living room. They meant to go across it to the bedroom on the other side, but they never got there. When they saw the Christmas tree loaded with presents, they stopped running. They stared at it, unable to move. Mr. and Mrs. McCallister came out of the opposite bedroom, stretching. Buzz, Jeff, Linny, and Megan followed behind them. They took a step into the living room and gasped. "Are we in the right room?" Buzz asked. Next came Uncle Frank and Aunt Leslie, with Rod, Tracy, Sandra, and Kevin. Uncle Frank was yawning, big time. He was the last to see it. He froze in mid-yawn. Kevin walked through the room of human statues. His face lit up. He took in the mountain of gifts, the wrapping paper he recognized from Duncan's Toy Chest. "Wow," was all he could say. "Whose is whose?" Fuller asked. "Just pass them around," Kevin replied. Fuller and Brooke began picking up gifts and distributing them. Everyone began talking at once. "Get the camera!" Uncle Frank shouted. "Careful with the wrapping paper," Aunt Leslie warned. "We can reuse it." Suddenly, Buzz's voice boomed above them all. "Everybody, calm down!" Fuller and Brooke stopped. The whole family looked at Buzz. If Kevin hadn't screwed things up so bad again, we wouldn't be in this most perfect and huge hotel room with a truckload of free stuff. He smiled at his younger brother. So it's only fair that he gets to open the first present. And then I'll go and the rest of you and so on. He picked up a present and tossed it to Kevin. Merry Christmas, Kev. The entire family burst into applause. Kevin caught the present and bowed. He couldn't believe what he had just heard, but he sure liked it. Just as he went to open his present, something caught his attention. Something about the tree. He looked at it carefully. From top to bottom, it was decorated with the objects from the 12 days of Christmas. His eyes went straight to the 2 turtle doves. This Christmas was still not complete, he realized. There was one very important thing he needed to do. One last thing before he left New York. He would do it this morning, as soon as he could break away. Smiling to himself, he began ripping his present open. The other 13 McCallisters were still playing with their toys and games when Kevin sneaked outside. They wouldn't notice him for at least a half hour or so. But by that time, he'd be back anyway. He wasn't going to have to go far. He could tell that the moment he looked into the Central Park, the moment he saw a huge cluster of pigeons in one of the trees. He crossed the street and hopped the wall to the park. Under the tree was the pigeon lady, tossing seeds to her birds. "Merry Christmas," Kevin said. The pigeon lady turned with a start. When she saw Kevin, she waved. "Merry Christmas, Kevin." The pigeons cleared a path for Kevin as he walked toward her. Gently, he reached out and took the seed bucket from her hand. He set it on the ground, then took her hand. Opening her fingers, he set a turtle dove into her palm. She looked at him, her brow wrinkled with confusion. Kevin held up his turtle dove. "I have one, you have one. As long as we each have a turtle dove, we're friends forever." The pigeon lady smiled. Kevin thought he could see a tear forming in one of her eyes. "Thank you," she said. Kevin put his turtle dove back into his pocket. It was time to go before his mom and dad panicked again. He threw his arms around the pigeon lady. She returned his embrace. "I won't forget you," Kevin said as they released each other. "Trust me." A sudden commotion made them both turn around. The entire flock of pigeons was soaring up to the sky. They spiraled upward, dipping and gliding high over the city. Below them, no one seemed to notice. No one except Kevin and his new friend. In their own ways, they were soaring too. And that is the end of our book. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And everybody, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Have a Merry Christmas. To my nieces and nephews, I hope you guys get everything you wanted. And I want everyone to have a Merry Christmas. I love you guys.